When we talk about love, consistency, and devotion, we often forget how easily the human heart can grow used to things that are steady and reliable. That is where the danger lies. Because when something feels safe, when someone is always there, giving their best, showing up in every way possible, we slowly begin to see it as normal. What was once special becomes routine. What once felt like an extraordinary act of love, like those late-night check-ins, those small but thoughtful surprises, those endless reassurances, can suddenly start to feel like background noise. And it's in that moment of quiet complacency that many women unknowingly slip into taking the man in their life for granted. At first, everything feels exciting. Every call, every message, every visit carries a thrill because love in its early stages has that magical spark. But as time goes on, and as the man continues to give, continues to pour his heart into the relationship, a strange shift happens. His dedication no longer feels new, it feels expected. His presence no longer feels like a gift, it feels like a given. And when a woman starts to unconsciously expect his efforts as though they are owed to her, the appreciation begins to fade. Not because she doesn't care, but because comfort has a way of blinding us. We often don't realize how deeply we depend on someone's love until we stop noticing it. Think about it when he brings you food without being asked, when he checks to see if you've eaten, when he listens to your worries, and makes sure you feel safe. You smile and thank him at first. But after a while, that becomes the norm. You might even roll your eyes and think, of course he should do that. He's my man. What used to make your heart race now barely gets a second thought. And that's the danger of the comfort zone. It turns treasures into common objects. The truth is, consistency doesn't always sparkle. It doesn't always shout. It doesn't always feel as exciting as grand gestures or dramatic moments. But it is in consistency where the purest form of love lies. When a man shows up every single day, when he holds you up when you're tired, when he sacrifices without even announcing it, that is where love's true strength lies. And yet, because it is steady, because it is always there, it is the easiest to take for granted. Let's be honest, many women don't realize that the very things they're bored of or no longer paying attention to are the same things another woman is desperately praying for. While she is tired of his texts, someone else is longing for a single message to know she matters. While she is dismissing his protective nature as controlling, another woman is yearning for a man who actually cares if she makes it home safe at night. While she is rolling her eyes at his affection, another woman is praying for arms that never get tired of holding her. We miss the extraordinary when we label it as ordinary. What makes this even more profound is how often women mistake a man's quiet strength for passivity. Because he isn't loud about his efforts, because he isn't demanding applause, it seems as though his love is less valuable. But in reality, it is that quiet strength that sustains relationships, the way he silently picks up responsibilities, the way he swallows his pride to keep peace, the way he forgives and moves on without dragging arguments into the next day. Those are silent victories, and yet they rarely get celebrated because they've been folded into the fabric of daily life. The comfort zone is tricky because it disguises itself as stability. At first, a woman might think she's simply relaxed in her relationship, that she can lean on him and not worry about losing him. And that is beautiful in one sense. Love should feel safe. But when safety turns into laziness, when gratitude turns into entitlement, that's when she starts slipping into taking him for granted. She assumes he'll always be there, no matter what. She assumes he'll always forgive, always call, always care. But what she doesn't see is that every man has a breaking point, and love that isn't valued will eventually wither. And here's where the irony cuts the deepest. Women don't usually notice this shift while they're inside it. They don't recognize that they're neglecting appreciation. It's only when the man pulls back, when the consistency stops, that the comfort zone suddenly cracks open. That's when the realization hits, when the good morning texts no longer come, when the thoughtful gestures vanish, when the steady presence disappears. The absence makes her remember the sweetness she once overlooked. The silence makes her long for the voice she once dismissed. The void exposes how much she had without even realizing it. It's human nature, isn't it? We often don't understand the true weight of a blessing until it's removed. And in relationships, that truth is harsher than anywhere else, because a man who was once considered ordinary suddenly becomes unforgettable the moment he's no longer accessible. She remembers the way he made her laugh, the way he calmed her storms, the way he carried her through seasons she couldn't have survived alone. And she begins to see clearly that what she once called just routine was actually the heartbeat of her happiness. The comfort zone is not the enemy, but forgetting to appreciate what happens inside it is. Women must learn that stability is not boring, that reliability is not a flaw, and that consistency is not something to roll your eyes at. It is, in fact, the very thing that holds everything together when passion fades, when challenges arise, and when life tests the bond. A man who shows up every day, even when it's not glamorous, is the kind of man who should never be taken for granted. So the truth is simple. When women grow too comfortable, when they fail to acknowledge the man who gives his all, they unknowingly begin writing the story of missing him later. Because once that love is gone, once that man steps away, the comfort they mistook for ordinary suddenly feels like the rarest treasure in the world. And that is when she begins to miss the man she took for granted. There is a certain shift that happens when a man who once poured his entire heart into a relationship begins to step back. It doesn't always happen loudly. It doesn't always come with warnings. Sometimes it is as subtle as fewer phone calls, shorter conversations, or less eagerness to be available. At first, she may not even notice. She may think he is just busy or tired or distracted with work. But slowly, the silence grows louder. The absence becomes more noticeable. And then, when the things she once overlooked are no longer there, the weight of what she has lost begins to settle in. That is the moment many women realize just how much they miss the man they once took for granted. It's easy to ignore the importance of someone's presence when it is constant. When he calls every day to ask how you are, it feels repetitive. When he waits up to make sure you got home safely, it feels predictable. When he makes sacrifices to see you, it feels routine. But take those things away, and suddenly, the silence stings. Suddenly, the security she had assumed would always be there is gone. What she once called ordinary now feels extraordinary simply because it no longer exists in her daily life. This is the strange paradox of love. Its greatest blessings are often the ones we notice the least until they vanish. When a man has been endlessly reliable, his absence hits like a storm. The void reveals everything he once held together, all the little ways he made her life softer, safer, warmer. And when he begins to distance himself, whether emotionally or physically, the reality of that void forces her to look back on what she once dismissed as just his job as a partner, and realize those gestures were acts of love she can't easily replace. When the calls stop, she remembers the comfort of his voice. When the texts no longer come, she remembers the reassurance those small words used to give her throughout the day. When the weekend plans no longer happen, she remembers how much effort he put into making her feel valued. It is in the distance, in the quiet, in the pause of his presence, that clarity strikes. What seemed ordinary was actually the heartbeat of the relationship. And without it, life feels colder, lonelier, and far less meaningful. At first, she may try to brush it off. She may tell herself it doesn't matter, that she is fine without his constant attention, that she never really needed him to show up that much anyway. But the truth is, the human heart doesn't lie, and the empty spaces he leaves behind begin to echo louder and louder. The coffee tastes different without his good morning message. The nights feel longer without his voice wishing her sweet dreams. The laughter feels emptier without him sitting across the table. It's not about the grand things he did. It's about the way his steady presence filled in all the small cracks of her life. And this is where the pain of realization deepens, because she remembers how easily she dismissed those gestures when they were consistent. She remembers complaining that he called too much, or that he worried too often, or that he was too available. She remembers rolling her eyes when he asked if she made it home safely, or when he stayed up late to make sure she felt okay. At the time, it felt overbearing, maybe even unnecessary. But when the man pulls away, she finally sees those moments for what they truly were, proof of love. And it is in the absence of that proof that regret begins to grow. When a man begins to step back, he rarely does it all at once. He starts with little withdrawals, testing the waters to see if she notices. He doesn't call one evening. He doesn't send that thoughtful reminder. He doesn't rearrange his schedule to see her. And when she doesn't notice, or worse, when she acts as though it's a relief, his heart quietly closes another door. That is when she starts to feel the subtle chill of distance, the first signs of what it means to lose something you once thought was permanent. By the time she realizes what's happening, the change is undeniable. She misses the way he used to be eager just to hear her voice. She misses the way he once fought for every piece of her time. She misses the way his love felt like a shield against the loneliness of the world. And suddenly, all the things she once dismissed as too much are the very things she craves. She longs for the man she once had, but she cannot ignore that it was her lack of appreciation that helped push him into silence. This is the cruel truth of distance. It reveals value in a way presence cannot. When a man is near, when he is accessible, it is easy to underestimate him. But when he steps back, when he chooses to protect his own heart rather than continue giving it away unappreciated, his worth shines in the emptiness he leaves behind. It is then that she understands that she never had too much love. She had exactly what others dream of, and she let it slip through her fingers. Regret becomes the constant companion of that realization. She replays conversations in her mind, moments when she could have said thank you but stayed silent instead. She remembers times he went out of his way for her, and she met it with indifference. She recalls nights when he gave her his full attention, and she scrolled on her phone instead. All the small dismissals now haunt her because she sees clearly that each one was a missed opportunity to show him he mattered. And now, as he withdraws, she longs for the chance to do it differently. But time is not always generous with second chances. Sometimes, when a man steps back, he never returns. Sometimes, when he chooses distance, it is because he has realized his own worth and refuses to remain where it is unrecognized. And that is when she begins to truly feel the depth of missing him. Not just missing his actions, but missing the person he was, the love he gave, the safety he created. It is a hollow ache that reminds her every day of the treasure she once held and failed to cherish. And that is when she begins to miss the man she took for granted. There comes a moment in every relationship when the excitement of new love begins to fade into the rhythm of daily life. The butterflies settle. The spark that once felt electric becomes familiar, and what remains is the true test of love, emotional security. This is the kind of stability that doesn't shout for attention, doesn't demand constant praise, but quietly holds everything together. And yet, it is the very thing that so often goes unnoticed until it's no longer there. Many women don't realize how much they rely on that sense of safety a man provides until it disappears, and it is in that emptiness that the longing begins. A man who truly loves will not only bring romance, but he will bring a sense of grounding. He will carry her worries when life feels too heavy. Listen when she's overwhelmed and reassure her even when she isn't asking for it. He will be the calm voice in moments of chaos, the steady hand when everything else feels uncertain. And while those things don't always look glamorous, they are the foundation of love. Over time, though, it is easy for a woman to confuse stability with predictability. She may start to believe that his reliability is simply who he is, forgetting that it is an active choice he makes every day to love her in that way. Think about it. When she feels safe to cry without judgment, when she can share her fears without them being used against her, when she can walk into his arms and instantly feel the world's weight slip away, that is emotional security. That is the kind of love many pray for. But because it doesn't come wrapped in fireworks or dramatic gestures, it's easy to take it for granted. It becomes expected, as if his patience and loyalty are just part of the background of her life, always there but rarely acknowledged. Yet when that security is gone, its absence is unmistakable. Suddenly, the silence is colder because there is no one to listen to her late-night worries. Suddenly, the laughter feels emptier because there is no one who understands her jokes the way he did. Suddenly, the world feels lonelier because the shield he once provided against its harshness is no longer there. It is in those quiet, heavy moments that she realizes the power of what she lost. What makes this realization even more painful is that the very qualities that made him steady may have once seemed unexciting. She may have mistaken his patience for passivity, his loyalty for simplicity, his consistency for a lack of passion. She may have overlooked how rare it is to have a man who doesn't play games, who doesn't waver, who doesn't leave her guessing. Because the truth is, in a world full of uncertainty, a man who is emotionally secure and makes you feel secure is not ordinary at all. He is a gift that cannot be replaced by fleeting thrills or shallow connections. When a woman loses that, when she steps outside of it, whether by choice or by circumstance, she begins to realize how fragile the world feels without it. Other people may show her attention, They may offer temporary excitement, but they cannot replace the peace that comes from knowing someone is truly in her corner. They cannot replicate the safety of a man who cares about her soul, not just her surface. They cannot provide the unwavering stability of someone who has seen her at her weakest and still chooses to stay. And that is when the longing deepens, when she begins to miss not just the man, but the way he made her feel, protected, understood, and loved without condition. So many women confuse passion with love and overlook the quiet depth of emotional security. But passion alone cannot hold a relationship together when life throws its storms. It is the man who stays steady through the arguments, through the disappointments, through the changes, who proves the real depth of his love. It is the man who chooses her again and again, even on the difficult days, who gives her the kind of safety most people never find. And when she loses that, she begins to realize that what she once considered ordinary love was in fact extraordinary. Regret often sets in like a shadow. She remembers the times he listened to her when no one else did, the times he forgave when she didn't deserve it, the times he held her when she couldn't hold herself. And she wonders how she could have missed the significance of those moments. She wonders why she brushed off his devotion, why she failed to give back the same security he gave her so freely. The memories start to ache because they are no longer her present. They are reminders of what she let slip away. This is the cruel irony of emotional security. It is quiet, so it is overlooked. It doesn't demand recognition, so it is easy to ignore. But when it is gone, it is louder than anything else. Its absence screams in the middle of the night. It aches during the loneliest days. It lingers in every reminder of what once was. And it is then that she begins to crave the very things she once dismissed: the stability, the calm, the unwavering presence. A man who gives emotional security is not just a partner, he is an anchor. He steadies her when the world tries to pull her away. He grounds her when her emotions feel overwhelming. He reminds her of her worth when she doubts herself. And once that anchor is lost, she realizes just how much he kept her from drifting. She realizes that no amount of temporary excitement can replace the peace of knowing someone truly had her back. The hardest truth is that many women only come to this understanding when it's too late, when the man who once gave his all finally stops, when he decides he can no longer carry the weight alone, when he walks away because his love was undervalued for too long. That is when she finally sees that the stability she thought would never fade was the very thing holding her world together. And in his absence, she begins to unravel, missing not just him, but the safety he represented. And that is when she begins to miss the man she took for granted. With time, distance, and reflection, something powerful happens inside the heart. Regret begins to transform into a lesson, and the very absence of what once was becomes a teacher. When a woman loses the man she took for granted, at first the pain feels like a raw wound. It's sharp, it's heavy, it consumes her thoughts. She misses his voice, his care, his attention. But as the days stretch into weeks, and the weeks into months, something else begins to unfold. The longing turns into reflection, and reflection turns into growth. That's when she begins to see not just what she lost, but why she lost it, and how different things could have been if only she had chosen appreciation instead of complacency. In those quiet hours of reflection, she replays the moments she once overlooked. She remembers the times he sacrificed his comfort for hers, the days he stood by her side when she was at her lowest, the ways he gave endlessly without ever asking for much in return. Those memories no longer feel routine to her. They feel sacred, irreplaceable. And with that realization comes the heavy weight of regret, because she knows she had something rare, and she let it slip away without cherishing it the way it deserved. But regret, as painful as it is, can also be a mirror. It shows her the truth about herself, not just about him. It forces her to ask the hard questions. Why didn't she see his worth when he was right in front of her? Why did she dismiss his efforts as ordinary? Why did she fail to give back even a fraction of what he poured into the relationship? These questions don't have easy answers, but they open the door to self-awareness. And it is in that space of self-awareness that growth becomes possible. Sometimes people need to lose something valuable to realize their own blind spots. A woman may not have known how much she craved loyalty until she lost the one man who gave it to her without hesitation. She may not have recognized the depth of patience until the silence reminded her of his gentle voice calming her storms. She may not have understood the strength of consistency until her days felt unstable without him. In hindsight, All the things she once thought of as ordinary now appear as extraordinary gifts, and the painful truth is that she can't go back and relive them. But she can learn, she can grow, she can vow to never take for granted again the kind of love that is genuine and rare. Growth doesn't erase the ache, but it reshapes it. Instead of being haunted only by what was lost, she begins to use the memory as a guide for the future. She starts to recognize the value of people who show up for her. She learns to say thank you more often, to appreciate the small gestures that carry the greatest meaning. She learns that love is not about chasing constant excitement, but about holding on to the stability and security that someone chooses to give every single day. Regret, though painful, becomes the seed of wisdom. It's in these moments of growth that she begins to understand the true weight of love. She sees that it is not about the grand gestures or the perfect words, but about the consistent actions that build a foundation strong enough to withstand life's storms. She realizes that emotional security, patience, loyalty, and commitment are not just qualities, they are gifts, and gifts are meant to be cherished, not overlooked. The man she lost may never return, but the lesson he left behind lingers in her heart like an echo, reminding her that love unappreciated will not stay forever. Over time, the regret softens. It doesn't vanish, but it transforms into a quiet voice that whispers every time she encounters love again, "Don't make the same mistake." That voice pushes her to recognize value when it's present, to nurture it instead of neglect it, to honor it instead of assuming it will always be there. The pain of what she lost turns into wisdom for how she loves in the future. And though the ache of missing him never truly disappears, it becomes a guidepost pointing her toward better choices. The reality is, some lessons in life are learned only through loss. We don't always recognize the depth of what we have until we feel the emptiness of its absence. And while that truth is painful, it also has the power to transform. Because once a woman learns that lesson, she can never see love the same way again. She becomes more attentive, more grateful, more willing to give back what she receives. She grows into someone who understands that love is not promised, that people are not permanent, and that the opportunity to cherish someone should never be wasted. And so, while she may always carry the regret of losing the man she once took for granted, she also carries the wisdom he left behind. His absence becomes her reminder. His silence becomes her teacher. His memory becomes her motivation to never again allow love to go unrecognized. In this way, even in losing him, she gains something, an understanding of what it means to truly value a person while they are still present. The ache of missing him may never fade completely. She may always wonder what could have been if she had seen his worth sooner. But with that ache comes clarity, and with that clarity comes growth. And though she cannot rewrite the past, she can honor its lesson in every step she takes forward. And that is when she begins to miss the man she took for granted.